What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
He spent the evening in a traditional dinner with Saudi King Salman, and before that took part in a traditional Saudi sword dance.
Crypto is about replacing the centralized banking system with networks that allow user control versus bank CEO control. The crypto assets that have prices are more like internet stocks. It's more like you bet on Google if you think there's going to be high internet traffic, and you short Google if you think people are going to go back to the post office, right? But it's not that Ethereum or Ripple or anything else is trying to replace the US dollar. It's trying to replace a system of transmitting value.
I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. We will, and if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, et cetera. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems have been built up over many years, know your customers, sanctions, OFAC, they can get bypass all of that. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
Okay,
so let's say you're BlackRock. You're in control of 40% of the investable assets globally. You're heavily invested in literally every aspect of life. The food industry, medical industry, weapon industry, transportation, the media, everything. By the way, this isn't a conspiracy. This is public data that anyone can find. So once you have all this power, you need to increase demand in order to keep the economy going. What are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna create a crisis. Because you cannot have a $90 billion weapon industry without a war. You cannot have demand for green energy without a climate crisis. You cannot sell a vaccine without a pandemic. And you cannot create media traffic without drama. It's an entire ecosystem controlled from the upper class, and it's no coincidence we're in a perpetual state of crisis.
he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about.
Can we return to 17,852 ballots for a minute? I mean, you know, that's a pretty big number.
Right.
Explain those one more time for me.
Well, I can explain the number. I can't explain how it happened. Hopefully we're going to hear about that on Tuesday. But there are, in the second machine count, there are 17,852 votes counted that do not have a corresponding ballot image associated with them.
Brunson case has been ruled in favor of Brunson. The White Hats have controlled the publicity of the case.
So I haven't heard anything about the Brunson case. I've heard it's on the docket, this and that, but you're saying
docket schmucket. That's what distorts people's minds.
Well, then I need to bring Lloyd Brunson back on here.
It comes back on the docket. And then when it's deferred, it comes back on the docket. And it's deferred a third time, it's back on the docket. It's already been ruled upon. They do not want it to be out of the news.
Okay.
It's
so you're
already been
saying-
ruled upon.
And it was in favor of the Brunsons.
Yeah. The
Where
White
did you
Hats
hear this? Where
hold
did
it.
you hear this? This is allegedly, right?
I've heard it from now 3 different military sources.
Get out.
They're holding those aces in their sleeve.
If you really want to know where someone's allegiance lies, seek out where they put up a fight. Find out who their enemies are, and you'll surely find out who their friends are. Birds of a feather not only flock together, they protect each other. So when Stephen Colbert had the guts to tell WikiLeaks, Alex Jones, and Pizzagate to grow the up, he made it known then and there that his involvement within Pizzagate warranted an in-depth exploration. After all, those who yell the loudest have the most to hide.
Have turned out to be true.
Which ones? The Trump-Russia witch hunt, Jeffrey Epstein, JFK assassination, the misuse of the Patriot Act, the Iraq War, the weapons of mass destruction, the war in Ukraine, the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline, the open border migration caravans, the climate change scam, chemtrails, and HARP, and 9/11 being an inside job, and the Internet of Things surveillance grid, and PFAs, and chemicals in the water turning everyone gay, and the 2020 election being stolen, and January 6th being filled with undercover feds, and Bilderberg, and Bohemian Grove, and global government, not to mention gain-of-function research, and the threat of China, and collapsing birth rates, and defund the police, and George Soros, and mail-in ballots, and big tech censorship, and disinformation agencies, and Obama's birth certificate, and probably some others I can't think of. I mean, so a few of them. I guess a couple of them have been true.
One of the beautiful things of the pause, if there is such a thing as a beautiful thing, but one of the important factors of the pause is that we see how bad they've done. So we will be able to do it properly, and it will be much easier. Everybody will agree with us because everybody sees what a bad job has been done during this 2-year period, and it will be a 4-year period. Everybody sees that. It will be much easier for us to do what has to be done.